We're talking today with Randy Baldwin of Corinth, Mississippi, and the interviewer is James Smither of the Grand Valley State University Veterans History Project. Okay, start us off at the beginning. Where and when were you born?
I was born May the 19th, 1948 in Memphis, Tennessee.
Did you grow up there, or was that just a hospital where you were born?
My father drove a bus there,
Okay.
and he drove a bus there until, I think maybe 11 years, and he felt like he was called by God to be a preacher. So he quit that job, and we moved up to East Tennessee, above Knoxville, where they had a high school for preachers, older, and he went to high school. I don't think he got past sixth grade when he was young,
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was like to prepare him to go to seminary or something
Yeah.
after that? Yeah.
And he did do some college work after that. He wasn't particularly engaged in it so much that he wanted degrees from it. He just wanted knowledge from it.
Right.
So he basically took Bible classes, even though he had to take a little English and a little math, but he wasn't really concentrated on a particular degree. He just wanted all the knowledge he could get, I guess.
Okay. And then did you finish high school yourself?
Yes.
And what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 1966 in Crowder, Mississippi.
Okay. So your dad had gone off to school in Tennessee, but you stayed in Mississippi, or was
No,
he
we
back?
went with them. It was a family thing. They
Okay.
had a place for families to
Okay.
live, in a little circle.
But then you were back in Mississippi, though, at the time that you got drafted, or when you were in high school, rather.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, and then what do you do after you finish high school?
I went to in the beginning. I went to Northwest Mississippi Junior College, and I went there for a couple of years. I was a music major.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you play an instrument or sing, or what did you do?
Singing was actually my instrument, but I did play the piano.
Okay. All right. And then, so you finished that in about 68, or did you stay until 69?
67, I think, was my last summer there.
Okay.
And my parents moved to Ohio in 68, so I went up there with them.
All right. And at that point, did you stay in school or get a job, or what happens?
Well, I had always wanted to finish, what I started with the college, but at the time I went ahead and got a job. I had a job with Ford for about 6 months. I got laid off, and then I got a job with GM that I actually retired from GM 30 years. Yeah.
Okay. But along the way somewhere, Uncle Sam called you.
Yes.
All right.
Just about the time you had to have 90 days to get in the UAW, and I had worked there 4 months, and I got drafted. So since I was in the Union, they told me when I got out of the Army to come back, and I would have a job there.
Well, that's good. Okay. So when do you start then your training?
June the 2nd, 1969 at Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
All
Was
right.
my basic training.
Okay. And these days, very few people go into the military or know anything about basic training. So what was basic training like for you?
Well, the first couple of weeks, of course, we had to run a lot, and we did all kinds of tests, whatever. And then after we finished with our test, if anybody did real good on their test or whatever, they would set them aside to ask them if they wanted to go to OCS or other things, depending on how the test turned out.
Right.
And they asked me if I wanted to go in Green Beret, and I'm just drafted, man. I was thinking about 2 years and I'm out, right?
Right.
So I did take the Green Beret test just for the hell of it. And it's the hardest Army test I ever took, and I actually passed it, but when it came down to signing up for 3 years, dropping and You know, I said, no, I'll just, I think, I said, I'm probably going to Vietnam. I said, I'd rather be out there with 30 people than I had with 3. So I gave that up, yeah.
All right. And then, what was the discipline like? And how did the sergeants treat you?
Well, I had a decent sergeant. I mean, but you know, you had to do what you were told to do. Period. I mean, that's the way it was. And most of the people seemed to gravitate toward working together. I mean, most of our basic was seemed to be just training for the PT test that all of us were going to have to pass and all that stuff.
Right.
You know, and we had some Army classes about different things, the code of conduct and all of that crap, but not so much. We did go to the rifle range and things like that, but it wasn't, you know, it was geared on, I think, just getting you started, just getting you to a look and telling you what the Army was about.
Did you do a lot of the close order drill and the marching and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
And just getting you all to work together and follow orders and that sort of thing. Okay. Were there, I don't know, how well did you adjust to that?
I was, I did a lot of sports when I was a kid. I played baseball, basketball, football, whatever sport they had, I'd try to play. And being part of a team was just, it just like second hand with me. I didn't reject anything. I mean, I wasn't mad because I got drafted. My father was in the 29th Infantry in World War II. He went in at D-Day and went all the way to Berlin. So I had no problem giving my country a couple of years.
Okay. Were there other people who were training with you who had more trouble?
Not that I could single out.
All right.
I mean, we were all, you know, if you were really overweight, they put all of them together. You know what I mean? They tortured them all together instead of sprinkling them with us and torturing us all.
Okay. All right. So you finish basic training, and then what happens?
I was elected by my platoon in basic to go to a leadership preparation course. So I went down to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and I think that lasted two weeks, maybe 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something like that. And then we went to a AIT company in Fort Polk.
Yeah. All right. So leadership preparation, that's not the same as being NCO training or whatever?
No, it's just like the door opening to it, you know,
Okay.
what you're, you know, you're supposed to know your men, you're supposed to, you know. And when I went to my unit in AIT, I was the platoon guide. Okay, for the recruit side of it, you know, so I had to do some things with that and learn how to, and I really had no big trouble getting along with people anyway, man. People are people to me.
So,
I don't think there's but one race of people, the human race, and that's the way I look at it.
well, biologists will all agree with you. So
Yeah.
Okay. So what do you actually do in AIT?
Well, actually the training was more intense. In basic training, you know, when we'd fall out and do our exercises and our running and all of that stuff, we could, you know, we had our blouse off and stuff like that. But when in AIT, after we did our exercises and our little run, and then wherever we did, we had to run to there, but we had to wear our stuff and carry our weapon, and with a steel pot. So it was just, you know, a little more physically intense in that way, you know.
And so did you bivouac and camp out at night and that kind of thing?
Yeah, we did. I think there there was some of that at the end. In fact, even in basic training, we had a little bivouac thing that wasn't too much, but it gave everybody a chance to be outside. I mean, I was down south all my young life, so I was in the Boy Scouts. I did all of that, so it wasn't no, you know.
All right. And in what ways were they preparing you for Vietnam?
Oh, well, that was a different book. All of a sudden it was real. There was no more training. It was real. We had 2 weeks of preparation when we got to Vietnam, and that was more of a climatizing thing, you know. And it was, I did my P training in Long Binh, and it was hotter than hell down there. That was, I think I got there like November the 14th, 1969. And after 2 weeks of that, we went to Camp Evans with the 101st.
Yeah. Now, what I was really asking you about with that question was at Fort Polk, when you were doing the AIT, how much of that was geared toward Vietnam, or what were they teaching you there that they thought you could use in Vietnam?
Oh yeah, it was definitely jungle tactics, and you know, how to get through, and we walked in the single file formation that we used in Vietnam. You know, you don't move up. You all you have to do is keep the guy in front of you in sight, and you move up. And you don't have to be 3 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet. If you can see him, you can, you know, you just stay so you can see. And we learned about booby traps and different stuff like that while we were going through.
Did they have like a fake village set up or something like that?
You know, I don't remember that, but because I've seen those before, because I stayed in the Army a little longer, you know. So I'm not sure about that. But we did have cases where we had aggressors, you know, where we'd get ambushed or whatever. Yeah, we did have that.
So they're trying to get you ready at least. Sort of. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, were a lot of the instructors people who had been to Vietnam?
Absolutely. Yeah, just about all of them.
All
yeah.
right. And did they share any kind of useful knowledge with you?
No, but they were on our side. My first sergeant made me go to a truck driving class. Well, I didn't want to go to a truck driving class because I knew I wasn't going to drive no truck, you know. So I laid down and went to sleep. Well, they get mad at you when you go to sleep. They woke me up and made me go back down to the company area, and I went in and talked to Top. I said, Top, I said, I'm going to Vietnam, Top. I need to learn everything I can. I said, I already know how to drive a truck. All right, so he sent me out with this sergeant and gave me a shovel and said, dig, you know, I'm supposed to dig a hole 6 foot deep and all that stuff. And the sergeant asked me, he said, did you tell him the truth in there? I said, yes, sir, I did. I said, I need to know everything that I need to know. And he said, give me that shovel. He said, just sit in the barracks. You can come back after lunch and you can go back with him. And I never had any more trouble with that.
All right. So when do you finish AIT?
I'm going to say must have been kind of around this time, toward the end of October.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. And then do you get to leave home before you go overseas?
Yeah, I got 30 days at home, and I reported to Vietnam on November the 14th, I think.
Okay.
So September, October, November. Yeah, I guess maybe it was September or something.
All right. So when you left the States, where did you fly out from? Did you go through
California,
Oakland,
San Francisco?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people went processed through Oakland, so that's the Bay Area there. Okay.
Now, before I did that, my wife, I had a new wife, and she was 8 months pregnant. And I asked some congressman that was speaking in Sandusky if it would be possible if I could stay home long enough for the baby to be born. No. So.
Off you go.
yeah, so off I go. I'm in Vietnam in November. I think it was the 14th.
Okay. All right. And you mentioned that you had a couple of weeks of sort of acclimation there in the Saigon area before you get sent.
Yeah, we just went on patrols,
Mm-hmm.
patrols in the jungle. I didn't like it because I'm not sure if they gave us any real bullets or not. I mean, we're carrying M16s, you know. I'm looking for my M16, and I don't know if we got any real bullets or not. I really don't remember, but I don't think there was much to that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was 2 weeks, you know, and they trained us. You know, we're going through the jungle and all of that stuff, so that was different.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, it was hotter than hell.
You had to get used to that heat and carrying
Yeah.
a pack and all of that in that. So, okay. So how did they then? So then you get orders then for the 101st.
We went to a big tent like a big circus tent. And the guy says, the following people will report to the 101st Airborne Division. And since my name started with a B, I don't know how many names he called. All I know is he called mine,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and some of the other guys too, and we're looking around, man, we're not airborne. And the guy said, don't matter.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I got assigned to the 101st Airborne.
All right. And how did they get you up there?
On a truck, on the back of a truck.
Okay.
We hopped on, rode up. There were some people, you know, the main part of the division was in Fubai.
Mm-hmm.
So they let everybody off there, wave Fubai, you
Yeah,
know, they
yeah.
use both terms for
Right.
it. And then the rest of us went to, we went up north further to Camp Evans.
Mm-hmm.
It was, I'm gonna say it was about 10 miles or so from Quan Tri, maybe?
Yeah, could be. Yeah, we're about 20 miles south of the DMZ, but we're pretty far north in South Vietnam.
Yeah, right.
Okay. And when you get there, now what happens?
Oh, we got out and they told where we needed to go. And I'm walking over there, you know, I'm going across a big chopper pad. And I got down to the spot and I see this big sign. It says, the best of the Currahees. And I'm thinking, oh shit, this don't sound good. And I walked over to Alpha Company. Big sign on the front of Alpha Company, King Alpha. I said, this might be a long year.
All right. What kind of reception do you get when you get
We,
there?
you know, we just got orders and and he told us what was going on. The company was out in out in the bush, and they would probably send us out on resupply day. You guys are here, You know, we did bunker guard. I don't really remember all of that stuff because it was just ordinary, you know,
Right.
just getting to there and all that stuff.
Okay. And how long before you did you actually join them out in the field?
Yeah.
Okay.
After a while, they were, at the time we were doing this, they were stuck on top of a mountain. And the fog came in and it started raining. And they couldn't get resupplied.
Mm-hmm.
And they stayed there and that lasted, I think it lasted 10 days. They spent 10 days without resupply. And the CO finally said, we're gonna walk off, screw it, we're walking off, you know? And they walked down below the cloud level and got to a place where they could get resupplied and they brought us in.
Mm-hmm.
God, they looked like animals. They did, they were dirty and disheveled and, you know, some of their clothes were like rotten, you know? And I didn't know, but
And so now, you get to assign to a particular platoon at that point, or?
yeah, I was assigned to the 3rd Platoon, and they said, where are you from? I said, I live in Ohio. They said, okay, you're in the Ohio squad. I don't even know if it was the 3rd, 2nd, or what squad it was. It was the Ohio squad. Just about everybody in the squad was from Ohio. Cleveland, Youngstown, you know, on down the line.
All right. And what kind of reception do you get in your squad?
Good. They were, you know, they wanted to know my name and all of that stuff. And they watched me, you know, to make sure I didn't screw nothing up. You know, we were FNGs, fucking new guys, yeah, or cherries, yeah, and they'd already had some of them were already getting short. I mean, so they wanted everybody to fit pretty good, and it was good. I had my squad leader was Al Slater. I think he was from Cleveland, and he talked with me. He said in the beginning, he says, well, he says, you're humping pretty good, you know. So, you know, he talked to me, and after a couple of weeks, he said, go over to the medic and get some of that cough syrup. I guess it's got codeine in it. I don't know what it is, but he said, get 2 bottles of that. I said, all right. I went over there, and Doc gave me a lot of shit for, well, who's wanting? I said, Slater told me to come over here and get these 2 bottles. Oh, okay, well, here. So we went over, he opened them, and we started drinking them, and he told me about his experiences in the Oshaw Valley and Walking Point, and he got blowed off the trail by a Chicom grenade and never got a scratch. So he gives me this, before he left Vietnam, he gives me this mountain yard bracelet. He said, here, wear this. He said, I wore it. He said, I never got a scratch. The guy that gave it to me never got a scratch. He said, hope that maybe it'll help. Yeah.
Okay. So the cough medicine is, well, you would have been sitting around drinking a beer or something, but you don't have that in the field.
No.
But you got cough medicine.
Yeah. Yeah, at that point in time. But now the medics wasn't free with nothing. You know, they were carrying it on their back to protect you.
Right.
And no, you didn't. If he didn't know Al, I wouldn't have got it.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. And so did he leave the field then shortly after that?
I think he left about May.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
that was quite a while after
Yeah.
he gave you the bracelet.
It was a few months after
Okay.
that. Yeah.
All right. And now, had
He
been
was in Alpha Company. 2nd and 506 is the only other company to go up Hamburger Hill besides the 3rd of the 187.
Right. There, yeah.
And he was in part of that because it just happened a year before that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So at this point, are you encountering many enemy, or are you just getting wet?
We were. I went to the mountains with them in the beginning. It was just before Christmas time, and so everybody that had 9 months in would they would take them out to go to the Bob Hope show. Okay. And we stayed out there. We hadn't had any enemy contact, and it was still rainy and all that kind of stuff. And then when we came in before Christmas, we went to the flatlands.
Okay.
Out of the mountains. We went to the flatlands. In fact, we even had they brought out a warm Christmas dinner for us in the flatlands, and all the scarf packages that people were sending their kids from home, and all that stuff came too. So when we left there and had our rucksacks packed, we were like having to throw fruitcakes away because nobody could carry them anymore, you know. But yeah, and we went one night. We were on this flat spot, and it was raining, man. It was raining, you know, like it was raining. As in Mississippi, they'd call it a frog strangling gully washer. And the next day, we went to a fire base. I don't know which fire base it was. We walked up there and we got cattle trucked back to Camp Evans. Yeah. And we had a little change of command ceremony. Our CO, we got Burkhalter.
Burkhart, yeah.
Yeah, that's when he came in.
Okay.
And our other CO, the only thing I remember him saying to me is, if you have a round in the chamber, it's an Article 15. But if you don't have a round in the chamber, I will court-martial you. That's all I remember him saying, so.
All right.
And then from, oh, go ahead.
Well, no, actually, you keep going to that point.
Okay, from when Burkhalter, the first thing we did in January when Burkhalter was there, which we went to a little fire base that was not too far out from Camp Evans itself, in a flat spot in the lowlands, and in the background was just mountains, you know. And so we built a fire base there. We dug all the holes and all that, you know, for the security of it anyway, and put wire in and claymores and all that stuff, you know, for protection of the fire base. And during that time, once a week, a group of us would go out into the mountains to cut an LZ. The general wanted as close as he could to have at least one LZ in each grid square of the map. And so we did that while we were doing this, and since I was a cherry, of course I got on that detail. It didn't. So we'd go out and we'd walk down aluminum ladders and get the explosives and all the cutting tools, and we would build an LZ, and when we got the LZ blowed so that a helicopter could land in, they would just come and land, pick us up, and we'd go back to the fire base.
Okay. So you're mentioning the ladders. Were you being lowered down out of helicopters, or were you?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, they just roll them out.
Okay.
Yeah, they couldn't land because there was no LZ. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're doing that kind of thing for a while.
Yeah.
And then, do you do more patrolling in the lowlands, or is it really not until March?
Not until we left the fire base. See, we were the security of the fire base,
Right.
so yeah.
Okay. Now you get into March, and that's when there's the first effort to set up what would become the Fire Base Ripcord. And Alpha Company was the first company to try to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, that was in March.
Yeah.
Now in February, we went to the mountains, and that was when we got our first contact. My first contact. We got ambushed one morning with we sent a squad out, you know, to check the trail that we were going to use that day, and they got ambushed. They fired RPGs in on us, and that was probably I don't know, maybe the 12th of February or something like that. And from that day to the end of February, one of our platoons was in contact every day, unless it rained and the fog came in. And so that was how we spent February. And then then the 1st of and March, and then the 1st of March. Is that, you want me to go there?
Well, yeah.
Okay. 1st of March, 12th of March, we landed on Ripcord. We were going some other place, and they changed the location in the air. I talked to Captain Burkhalter about it. He said there was, at the first location, maybe there was elephant grass.
Well, it was just the hill. It was Hill 902, and it was too steep. And there wasn't enough space to land people on.
Right.
Yeah. So they're all flying out there. So you're not in one of the lead choppers. You're coming in.
Yeah, I'm in the 3rd platoon. I think we might have been the 3rd platoon.
Okay. All right. So all you know is you're now heading toward
Right.
this other hilltop that will eventually become
Yeah.
Ripcord. Okay. So what do you remember about going in that day?
Well, we wondered what the hell what's happening. I mean, we're going this way, and then we're going this way, and then we're, and then we go in, and like I said, I was in the 3rd platoon. I think who landed first? The 2nd platoon or the 1st platoon, I believe.
Okay.
And
Might have been Lieutenant Joliet's platoon.
That's
whichever one
first.
you-
Yeah. Okay. Joliet. Yeah, that's first. And they started taking fire, and then the group kept coming in. They kept coming in as they could, and they were getting more fire. And then when the 3rd platoon came in, there was the mortars were coming, and it was a scramble. But by that time, everybody out there had already been in contact at least 3 or 4 times, so it wasn't panic. It was like a group effort, to do this or do that, but it wasn't good because wasn't that that's Joliet got killed there, right?
No.
It was one of the platoon leaders got killed.
Somebody else got killed because Joliet's still alive. So.
Yeah.
But yeah, and they're taking casualties and they're under fire.
Yeah, a lieutenant and his RTO, both of them got killed at the same time. Yeah.
Okay, and then for you, now did you stay, so what did you do yourself at that point? You get off the helicopter, what do you do?
Go take cover as quickly as I could, and wait for, I did what Al wanted me to do, That's he was my squad leader, yeah.
Now did you stay up there all night, or did you leave before that?
I think we moved.
Okay.
That one's still a little cloudy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And that, and then, how long did you stay then in that area? Or did you move off the top of the hill?
Yeah, we moved down, and then we'd move back up. It was pretty open right there, but we did have to get off the hill.
All right. And then how long did you stay out in the field at that point?
What did we? 3 days, 4 days,
Okay.
maybe 4 days or 5 days, something like that. Because I know in Captain Burkhalter's notes, he said we had 92 people when we landed there, and 3 days later we had 77. So, wasn't a real good spot. No.
Okay. And did they take you back to Evans then, or somewhere to another fire base?
I don't even know. I don't remember. But like I said before, I don't think anybody went back to Evans until April.
Okay, that's
From
quite possible.
Fire Base Jack. So I'm not,
Yeah, well, I just talked to somebody else who was in your company, and I had that kind of impression there too. So you're still out in the field, you're still around Ripcord, you're just not on it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Okay. Now, at a certain point, then when you get down to April 1st, then that's when B Company tries to land there.
Right.
And that doesn't go so well.
No.
Did you see or hear any of that from where you were?
Yeah, because we went in on Hill 805 after they were already over there.
Right.
So we went on Hill 805, which was it was a hot LZ from the beginning, and we got off. And at that time, I was like an acting squad leader because my platoon leader, Jim Knoll, went to the rear to be the pay officer. Okay, because this was the 1st of April, So he went to the rear to be pay officer, and when he did that, we went over here. And so the platoon sergeant was the platoon leader, and squad leader was the platoon sergeant, so I was made the
Acting
squad leader
instructor.
for a while, you know. And when we got there, they had put my M60 gunner and his assistant gunner, they put them on different birds. And I tried to get them to change it, you know, before we came, and they said, no, it's okay, Baldy, we'll get them together as soon as we got down. So we got down, and I found the assistant gunner. He's over here. I said, where's Bosco, man? He says, I don't know. And I asked somebody else, and they said, oh, he's on the other side. I went across the LZ, and there's Bosco over a cliff by himself, and he's a new guy. It's the first time he's been in contact. We don't, you know, you don't like to have that kind of situation. I said, you know, after a few curse words, I said, I'll go back and get the assistant gunner. So I'm going back across the LZ, and I really screwed up. I wasn't paying attention to what the hell I was doing. I was pissed off, you know. And I'm walking across there, and I hear this Cobra coming. And I'm going, oh shit. And I looked over here to the side, the pretty steep thing coming from the LZ, just, but there was a big log laying down there. And I took 3 steps and dived as hard as I could dive. About that time, where I was at blew up. And honestly, I felt like I was flying. I think I was surfing the concussion from the rocket blast or something. And when I landed exactly behind that log, and immediately time came back to where it really was. And I felt a little sting in my foot, and I looked and I had one little piece of shrapnel went through my boot. And I said, wow, you know, and I didn't get up right away because I could see the people in the positions were firing, you know. So I took a couple of dirt clods and threw them up to get the guy's attention. I said, I'm hurt, I'm coming up, you know, I'm hit. He said, okay, so I got up there, and they never did get together because I never knew, because they called a medevac in.
Mm-hmm.
So medevac came in, landed. I jumped on the medevac, and I was glad to get the hell out of there. I really was. And the medevac went up, and it sounded like a machine gun went off. And it was the main rotor blade hitting a tree. And I'm going, Jesus, am I ever, you know? And then we went over to Fire Base Ripcord and put 2 or 3 more wounded people on, and then took off to get to Evans. And we got about halfway to Evans, and this helicopter was just, you know, and the guy says, we can't do this, you know. So he went back and landed on Ripcord. And as soon as he landed, you could see the mortar rounds blowing up as they were getting closer to the helicopter, you know. So we got out and ran like hell. As you know, I was hopping and everything because I couldn't get on my foot, and I dumped into the biggest dug hole I could find. Yeah, and they never did hit the helicopter. I was waiting for it to blow to pieces, but they never hit it, and we were there for a while. I don't have a weapon because I had to leave it when I got on the medevac. So there's nothing. I'm just leaning up against this wall waiting for this shit to get over with or kill me or whatever it's going to do. And the medic showed up. He says, and he's standing up on top of the ground up there. I said, man, what the hell are you doing? Get down here. Oh, no, he says, you know, he says, I ain't been on the ground this long in a long time. And I'm going, oh, he said, I got to have my camera. He said, I left it in the helicopter. And I said, well, yeah, you know, I couldn't say anything to him. Shoot, he went to the helicopter and actually got his camera out of there and came back and took pictures. I said, Jesus Christ, this guy's nuts. Yeah. And I was there for, I think 2 more hours before a medevac came in and took us back to Evans. And I was glad. And then they tagged me, checked me out, tagged me, said, get on that helicopter, hopped on there, and we're flying and we're flying. All of a sudden we get to the ocean. The helicopter drops down a little bit and starts shooting across the ocean to a great big white ship, the USS Sanctuary. And that's where I stayed for the next 10 days.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how did they treat you there?
Good, good. All except hardcore Hannah. She would, in the ward that I was in, nobody was really ambulatory. You know, we could all get up. So one of the petty officers or whatever from the Navy, a nurse, she would come in there and get us up and make us change the bed, you know, and fix everything up and stuff. So we used to try to run from her when we could. We were kids, man.
All right. But they got your foot fixed up at that point? They fixed up your foot?
Yeah, yeah.
All right. And then you just go back and rejoin the company?
Yeah.
Okay. And so where
While I was on the hospital ship, a Marine general came in, and in the whole ward there was only 2 of us from the Army in there. The rest of them were Marines, and the only 2 of us, the Marine general gave us Purple Hearts. These other guys had gotten hurt on a fire base or fallen off of something, or you know, they didn't get hurt. They didn't get hurt in combat, so we got our first Purple Heart by a Marine general.
All right. Now, where was your company when you rejoined it?
They were still on 805.
Okay.
Yeah, they had to do some stuff there. Bravo company got beat up pretty bad, and there was like bodies missing, and they sent Johnny McGinnis, a good buddy of mine, Bill Heath. You know, I've heard this from them. They and a squad went with them. They went down there basically in the dark to go up and try to find this team from Echo Company. They couldn't find them, you know, and they found each other, and they ended up finding all the bodies. But no, they were still out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then at some point, then Charlie Company actually goes up on Ripcord.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, it had to, because Bravo Company got pushed off. I mean, they couldn't stay any longer.
Yeah, they were there
And
for a
then
day or so.
Charlie.
They left.
Yeah.
And
that was probably a good thing because Captain Isabella Vasquez.
Baldwin Vasquez, yes.
Yeah, he was a Green Beret, so he was in charge of the security for Fire Base Ripcord. So he made it like a Green Beret fire base, and it was much more secure. Yeah.
All right. So at this point now, do you just move off of 805 and patrol? Do you go back to Evans? What?
They went back to Evans. I got back to Evans on the 10th of April.
Okay.
And Top told me that to just, you know, just wait. I asked him, I got in, he said, what do you need? I said, my rucksack. He said, your rucksack? I said, yeah, I'm going back out with the company. He says, nah, he says, just wait a couple of days, they're coming in, then you can go back out with them. So they came in 2 or 3 days later. So I got back with them, and they sent us to Eagle Beach to relax a little bit, and beer was a nickel, and a mixed drink was 20 cents, 15 cents, whatever it was. Now, if you're in that scenario, what do you think 70 people in the infantry, after they've been out in the bush for 70, 80 days, what do you think they're gonna do?
Spend a lot of nickels?
Yeah. So everybody got drunk. I was out on the beach with Chuck and Jody and a couple of guys. We were just trying to relax. and somebody said something to somebody that made somebody mad and and they just about tore one of the hooches down on Eagle Beach. So the next day they threw us out. You got to go, you know. And we had our weapons in connexes. You know, they took them from us. And when we went back to get our weapons, I didn't have an M16. And I asked the lieutenant, you know, I said, what the hell happened, you know? And he's getting on the guy, hey, I signed this, all of these were in here. And nobody ever knows what happened to that weapon.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have one. And they said, don't worry, we'll get you one when we get back to the company. We get back to the company, the colonel's pissed off at us because because these guys tore the place down, okay? So we can't even go to our company area. He makes us sleep outside the wire. So we do that. The next day, you know, I'm still screaming about a weapon. So the platoon sergeant gave me his M79, and he had a 45, and he was going to keep an AK-47. Well, once that went through, it came back down that he couldn't have an AK-47 out there because everybody knows what they sound like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's the one thing the movies never show you. But I'm telling you, right now, when you hear one shot, you know whose it is. Yours or ours, and what was it? A rifle? You know, everybody knows. Yeah. So he couldn't do it, so he took his M79 back. So I got the 45. 2 clips and 45 extra rounds of ammo. Well, at this point, I'm the lieutenant's RTO. So honestly, the biggest job I got is taking care of the damn radio. It has to work because without it, we're toast.
Okay. So who was your lieutenant at this point?
Jim Knoll.
Okay, so it's Jim Knoll. So I thought he went back to be the pay guy, or?
That was yeah, now see, that was in April. But he came back.
Oh, okay.
Because they came back and paid him, you know. He came back. They would do that.
Okay.
In order to take a shower, get clean clothes, and have a decent meal, you know. And that's the last time. That was the last time Jim did it, because he knew that they were only supposed to stay out 6 months, okay? And when he passed that, he wouldn't come in no more, because he knew they would keep him.
Yeah.
And he didn't think any of us knew that he was hiding out there.
Okay.
But we did, yeah.
All right.
We were together 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There's no hide.
Okay. So did you ever get an M16?
Yeah. We're out there. The colonel's still pissed off at us. Okay.
Now, was this the brigade commander or the battalion commander?
No, this is Black Spade.
Oh, Lucas. Okay.
Black Spade is pissed off, so he gives us to another battalion.
Okay.
To work with them for a while, you know. So now we're out in some place where we hadn't been before, even though, you know, the jungle's the jungle, you know. But it's on top, and we're moving along, and we get ambushed by M16s and an M60. You know, you can hear it. So we're calling everybody on the radio to find who in the hell is out there shooting at us, you know. And come to find out, it was the NVA that had captured our weapons or whatever. So, and we got a few, you know, shots back at them and all of that stuff. But mainly there was, you know, about 20 minutes of nothing but confusion when it first came out, because we knew they were American weapons shooting at us. So by the time we found out about that, we didn't get much off, but we had a couple people wounded, and we called a medevac. And this is the story I got. Now, I don't know if everybody remembers it like this or not, but the first medevac that came in, we were still getting fire. And he says, I can't come in because you guys are getting fire. And, you know, we were pissed, but we didn't really think a whole lot about it, you know. And then this other medevac was flying by, and he heard the thing over the radio. He says, "You guys still need a medevac?" We said, "Yeah." He says, "I'll come in." "Where you at?" Throw me some smoke out. And we did, and he came in and got the man. But, oh hell, I think that guy had probably been there for like 4 years. So, he was going to come in and get him anyway. That's the way they were. It really was. That's the way they were. So, the next day, we're humping. We get to our NDP site, and I look, and here's Doc. You know, he usually walked behind me, and here he's coming through, and he's using his M16 like a walking stick. And I said, Doc Draper, I said, "Are you going to shoot anybody with that rifle or not?" And he said, "No, I can't." He was conscious. He said, "No, I can't." I said, "Well, give it to me then, because I can't." And I had to put the butt of the weapon down in the dirt and kick the bolt open, because Doc never cleaned it.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have shot anyway. If it shot, it would have been once, you know, because the bolt wasn't even action. So I got that from him, and I gave him that 45.
Right.
Yeah. So I took his weapon and I said, "I'll take care of it."
Okay. Now, was this all still while you were assigned to the other battalion?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And about how?
Now after that, we're trying to get down off this mountain, right? And we go down maybe 100 meters, almost a straight cliff drop off. So come back up, go back down, straight cliff drop off. We go up, we go, and now after 2 times of this, we got guys falling out from heat stroke and all that stuff. And you can't just take care of them. You have to send them in, because they could die.
Yeah.
You know. So now we're losing people. You know, we're losing 2 or 3 that are overheated and all of that stuff. And then finally, they finally decide, oh well, we'll just take y'all out of there and put you back in the Oshaw Valley. You know, and there were no cheers for that. You know, but that's what happened. Yeah, and I thought to myself, I guess we've been punished enough for tearing that hooch down at Eagle Beach.
Right. Okay. As we keep going, you know, what happens next?
Okay, we're getting into May.
Into May, probably. Yeah.
We're getting into May. Well, this was a movement. We went into the LZ. See, our whole company would go into one LZ, and then we would split up after that. So that's why we didn't even know everybody in the company, because we didn't see them a lot. But anyway, on this occasion, Lee, that's the 2nd Platoon, Lee Wichita was there, and they got ambushed as they were leaving. And the 3rd Platoon, Noel, he grabbed me and a couple other guys, and he said, "We need to go and get in front of them, you know, so they can get their wounded back." So we did that, and on the way up there, I ran by Tiny. He's a guy from New York. Hell, he was like 6'7", 6'8". I mean, he was the biggest guy we had out there. I mean, we didn't have, if you see pictures of infantry, everybody's about 5'11" to 5'8". You know, I mean, it's uncanny how we're almost always the same size. You know, but here's Tiny, he's stuck up. And he was, I ran by him and I looked, and he's got this M60 with one hand. You know, he's just kind of holding it down and just raking ground with this thing. And I said, Jesus Christ. I said, Tiny, you all right? Yeah. I said, are you hit, man? He says, yeah. I'm hitting the arm, the leg, and the shoulder, and I'm going, God damn! And he's still shooting, you know. But we got in front of them, and they got their people back. Their point man was killed. That's the first time I saw a bullet hole in a steel pot. And you know, we think if it don't hit flat, sometimes that steel pot will deflect it and whatever, you know. But this was a flat shot, and it was a point man. I'm sure he was dead before he even hit the ground. Yeah, because it was a hole right through the steel pot. And we fought for a little while longer. They could see the bunker up ahead, and I thought it was Lee. Could have been Noah, but I don't. Anyway, one of the lieutenants got up with a log. It's like a armor piercing.
Yeah, light in a tank weapon. Yeah.
Yeah. And shot it at the bunker. Well, it just so happens I'm right behind the thing. You know, a good, you know, maybe 15, 20 feet, right? But I'm right behind it, and there's nothing I can do except try to crawl up in my steel pot because there's still fire going on. You know, what are you gonna do? You get up and run? You know. Anyway, and it went off, and I was just about stone deaf for about I don't know, 3-4 hours. I couldn't hear shit, and I think Doc was wanting to get a medevac and get me out, and I'm thinking, oh yes, this would be good. And it started raining, and the fog came in, so and by the time a few more hours went by, I started being able to hear again. But I had a hole in my eardrum for 35 years from that. Yeah. And before Lee died, I thanked him for standing up in front of me and shooting me then. I said, I got 10% more on my VA money, man. That's what he did, laugh.
All right. Now, as you move on farther through May, there's a certain point when your company commander changes again.
Yeah, and that was, it was right like at the end of May.
Yeah.
Yeah, it changed to Hawkins. Hawkins. Yeah.
All right. And what did you make of him?
Well, I really hadn't met him, you know, when he first took over.
Yeah.
But and the guys thought he was too aggressive. They thought he was award hunting, you know, medal hunting.
Yeah.
And he wasn't at all. He wasn't at all. Once I got to know him, we were on Ripcord to get resupplied, and I think we were on there a couple of nights or maybe 3.
Okay.
And we all thought that maybe this was going to be our turn to pull security.
Right.
But no, it wasn't. You know, so we got resupplied and we left. And I believe this was the time when we left. Hawk got me, and he said, I want you to be my RTO. And I said, well, I would rather stay with the 3rd Platoon. I've been with them, you know, for 6 months. And he said, no. He said, I've got 2 RTOs. He said, one has to stay here and be in the battalion talk area, and the other goes with me. Which one do you want to be? And I said, well, I'll go with you because I sure don't want to stay here. Man, they mortared that place every day. I mean, you could walk outside to get a glass of water and get a mortar round.
Well, that was mostly in July. I mean, I guess they got some incoming before that.
Oh, yeah.
It's really in July when it got regular.
It was intensified in July, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, it was.
But they were still getting hit anyway.
Oh yeah. Well, when we were out in the jungle humping, I would hear mortar tubes go off, And I'd call them and say shot, and they'd say shot out, thank you. You know, I'd let them know it was on the way, because it was that much of a regular occurrence for them to mortar them.
And were you trying to find the mortar positions?
I don't really think so. We were just, you know, I wasn't privy to all of the stuff, but I don't remember ever saying, well, no, let's go out and see if we can find these. There was guys on the back side of 805 that were looking for that also. We were just out on search and destroy missions. Now, I'm sure we were, you know, we were looking for them. We were looking for them all the time, yeah. But when we left there, and yeah, and we got just past Hill 805, or maybe we were still on part of it. Anyway, 3rd Platoon got ambushed, and that's when Jim Knoll and his RTO got hit. And I just thought it was kind of uncanny that the very first time that 3rd Platoon got in contact after I left being Lieutenant's RTO, that him and his RTO get hit. And Brady was, he got hit in the hand pretty bad. He never came back.
Yeah.
Now, Jim came back, but he didn't come out there. He tried to, but they wouldn't let him, and I'm glad they didn't, you know. I tell him all the time, no. I said, your spot, the guy that was in your spot died. He said, well, I said, I know, it wasn't you, and it might not have necessarily been that way. But I said, what if it did? And I said, besides that, you would have never gotten to us, because we had Gus Allen that they sent, that they were going to send to Alpha Company, and they sent him to Ripcord to go out on a resupply mission, and that's when the July the 22nd thing came around, and he never got out there to us. In fact, he got killed on the fire base with the battalion commander. Yeah, so no one ever would have been able to get back out there.
All right. Now, are there other things that happened? Let's see, in June, I think you had the whole battalion had a big stand down. Like go back to Evans or Eagle Beach or someplace, or
In June?
I think so.
You know, June is pretty confusing, because all of a sudden it turns into July, you know?
Yeah.
And poof, poof.
Yeah. Well,
But I don't remember,
okay.
it seems like we did go to Eagle Beach one more time, but I don't remember if that was when it was or not, man.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
But so June is mostly just kind of patrolling around the hills, and you're still out in the bush. You're not on top of the fire base most
Right,
of the time.
right.
Yeah. Okay. And did you notice in June any increase in enemy activity or more signs that they were out there, or did it just seem the same as May or April?
I actually thought it seemed a little quieter than May, you know? But there were still signs, you know? And June. No, I can't think of a real bad thing,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. So it may have been just more ordinary things.
Yeah, we would go, and I know I blew an LZ in June. I got sent to a demolition school in the rear, and after that, and I was on the LZ team anyway, but after that, anytime we blew an LZ, I was usually part of it, so I blew quite a few LZs, and I know I did one during that time.
Okay. I guess things do get heavy. I mean, July 1st is when the fire base now starts to get regular fire, and on the 2nd, Charlie Company gets hit bad, and so forth. So, kind of take us through July now.
Okay. What day in July did they shoot that Chinook down?
That's the 18th.
18th. Okay, in the beginning of July. Now, we were out, all I know is we were out there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
'Cause it's mostly C and D companies that are getting in trouble. Because they have Hill, I guess, yeah, and since it really gets later in middle of July, at some point you're out in your 805 again.
yeah,
And there's a company from 2501 that's up on top of
Right.
805.
right. That's when we went out there, to try to help them be able to get out. I
Yeah.
think they were on the way to get out of there at that
I
time.
think they were ordered to stay there for a while, and you
Okay.
were in support.
That's right, we were in support, yeah. And then, I think that must have been a few days after that, when they were trying to get out.
Mm-hmm.
That's when we kind of slipped on down past, you
Right.
know.
Yeah.
I think we gave them some support,
Right,
and then we slipped them down into the valley
right.
from there alongside of Hill 1000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what do you find in the valley?
We found I think that's when we found that bunker, and the bunker and we blew up CN gas in it. It's like more solid,
Mm-hmm.
and we blew that up. I wanted to blow the whole damn thing up, but they said, no, we'll do this. It'll make them uncomfortable. I didn't care if they were uncomfortable. I didn't want them to have a hole to shoot at me out of, you know. But anyway, what are you gonna do? I hooked it up, boom, blew that, and I got to know the captain better.
Mm-hmm.
We had we had a new lieutenant, a new platoon sergeant, and so I didn't get to know them much, but I got to know them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I know one night I set out a claymore trap, and the new lieutenant was questioning me about it, you know, and he said, did you put a trip flare? I said, no, I didn't put a trip flare out. He says, why not? I said, because when they hit the trip flare, they're gonna slow down, and if they find my booby trap, then it's not gonna go off, you know? So no, I didn't put a booby. He said, well, no, they'll think they found it and keep on going. I said, no, sir, not out here, sir. I said, I'll tell you what, here's a flare. Take it out there. He says, but I don't know where it is. I said, I know.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
All right. And didn't they also find a communications wire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now, we were on the 18th. Of course, we had our NDP.
Mm-hmm.
And on the early morning of the 19th, Hawk comes and wakes me up. He says, get everybody up, we gotta get out of here. He says, I got a feeling, we gotta get out, just get everybody up. So I got him up. I'm bitching because I didn't get to make I like to have a cup of cocoa in the morning, you know? And everybody got out, we got, I don't know, 200 meters away, 250, whatever. And all of a sudden where we just came from blew up. Yeah, mortars.
Mm-hmm.
Boom, 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 boom. And Hawk said, you hear that, don't you, Baldy? I said, what? He said, that's our NDP site. I said, no shit. He said, yeah. I said, well, anytime you have another feeling, I said, please let us know, you know. And that, honest to God, it was all him.
Mm-hmm.
He just had a bad feeling, just woke everybody up. But, and then we moved on. And we stopped on the trail to take a break. It was kind of a short downhill and then a pretty uphill.